Hey there, my name is Krystal Everdeen, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet a French market bag. This project is fairly beginner friendly, so don't be afraid to try it out. For this project, I'm using size 4 yarn from the brand Loops and Threads, as well as a size 5mm hook. The first thing that you're going to do is create a slip knot with your yarn, and then chain 4. Now, if you're not familiar with a slip knot or chain because you are a complete beginner to crochet, I do have a Crocheting for Beginners video that I will link in the description box below. So after you've chained 4, you're going to take your hook and go into the very first chain that you created and then slip stitch through that chain. You're going to be left with a little cluster, and what you need to do is kind of pull apart that cluster and find the center of it. And through the center of that little cluster, you're going to create a double crochet. Now, a double crochet, if you're not familiar with it, it is, let me show you. Yarn over through the stitch, yarn over back through the stitch, yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over through the last 2 loops. Now again, if you are a complete beginner to crochet or you may need a refresher, I do have that Crocheting for Beginners video linked in the description box below, and it covers all of the basic stitches. Okay, so as you can see, I'm making multiple double crochets inside of one stitch in the center, and I made a total of 10 double crochets in that center opening of the cluster. And once I created my 10 double crochets, I slip stitch into the very first double crochet I made in the row to complete my very first row of this project. So now you're left with a little crochet disc, and we're just going to continue working upon that crochet disc. Now for the second row, you're going to create 2 single crochets inside of every double crochet that you made in the previous row. So again, you're just going to create 2 single crochets inside of every stitch that you come across for the entire row. So once you have gone around the disc one time, you've completed row number 2, and it's up to you if you want to create more rows. The more rows that you make here, the larger your bag will be. Mine is a fairly small bag, so I just did 1 row of single crochet. So after I was done with that row of single crochet, my project looked like this. And now it's time to actually make the netting design of the bag, and to do that, all you have to do is chain 4 and then slip stitch into the next stitch. Then chain 4 and then slip stitch into the next stitch. And then you're going to chain 4 and then slip stitch into the next stitch. Very, very easy. And this is going to serve again as the base of your bag. So all of the loops are very close together in the beginning, but as you keep going, the netting does get wider and wider. So essentially, you're just going to continue crocheting rows and rows of loops from now on till the end of the project. So that's why I said earlier that this is a fairly beginner friendly / easy project as long as you know the stitches. So after you have completed your first row of loops, the project should look something like an adorable little snowflake. So this is what my project looks like so far. Yours should look somewhat similar. If you decided to make yours bigger with more rows of single crochet, then it's just going to be a bigger version of this, but pretty much it should look like this. Now for the next row, you're going to make more loops on top of the first row of loops. And for this one, I'm already going to change it up by chaining 5 instead of 4. That way the loop could actually stretch across from loop to loop. I know that doesn't make any sense, but you see, instead of slip stitching into stitches that are fairly close to one another, you have to reach over to the next loop. So the loop does need to be longer, so that's why it's going to be made up of 5 chains instead of the previous 4 chains. So I'm going to chain 5, 3, 4, 5, and then reach over to the next loop and slip stitch into that loop. And the project should look something like this. And you're just going to continue and continue and continue that same pattern for a number of rows. And although I did not count the number of rows I made until I changed it up again, what I go by is looks. So what I'm looking for in this crochet project is curving or ruffling. Once I see that the project is starting to curve, that means that I need to make my loops longer or bigger. So that means I need to increase the number of chains that make up the loop. Right now it's not really curving, it's still ruffling, which means that it's fine. I don't need to increase the number of chains that make up the loop, and I could keep going with my 5 chains for a loop. But after a number of rows, I didn't keep track of how many rows I made. After X number of rows, I noticed that the project was starting to curve on its own. So that essentially meant that I was done with the base of the bag. So now that I know that the bottom of the bag is going to be curved because it's curving, I moved on to the next step, which was to increase the number of chains I made to create a loop. So instead of 5 chains to create a loop, I switched it up and made 7 chains to create a loop. So crochet 7 chains, then reach over to the next loop, slip stitch into that loop, and there you go. You're going to do that for the rest of the project until you're satisfied with the size of the bag. And that's all it took. So this is the base of it. I'm just going to continue and continue and continue making loops over and over again until I'm satisfied with the size of the bag. Now, I didn't realize this until after I made the bag and put fruit in it, that this bag actually stretches a lot. So I thought that I was making a relatively small bag, but it turned out to be a fairly large bag, like you saw in the beginning of this video. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. So I was satisfied with the size of the bag right here, so I decided to make 1 row of single crochet just to make the top of the bag have a solid lining. So in every loop I came across, I made 4 single crochets inside of it, and I did that for 1 entire row. So I went all across the circle until I came back to the point where I started, and then I finished my. So after I made that row of single crochet, I crocheted my way to the point where I wanted to attach the strap. And after I decided where I wanted to attach the strap, I created the strap by chaining a chain of 100. If you want a longer strap, then you could chain more. If you want a shorter strap, then you just chain less. It's totally up to you. So after I chained my chain of 100 and was satisfied with the length of the strap, I slip stitched into the point where I wanted the strap to be attached to. So I gave it a decent amount of space to fit my arm when I wear it, and then slip stitch into the stitch I wanted it to be attached to. And voila! There's now a strap on the bag. So from here, I just single crocheted my way across the project to the opposite side of the bag and did the exact same thing. I picked out a point to where I wanted the strap to be attached to, and then I chained a chain of 100, and then after I chained my 100 chains, I attached the strap to where I wanted the strap to be attached to, which was pretty much in line with the other side because I wanted them to be even. So after I attached that with a slip stitch, then I went around the project again with a single crochet, but this time instead of just going around the circle part of the project, I actually single crocheted on top of the strap just to make the strap a little bit thicker and more sturdy. And also, when it's just a chain, it kind of digs into your skin, but if you add another layer of crochet on top of that strap, then it's much more comfortable. So that's why I decided to make a row of single crochet on top of the chains that make up the strap. That way they're thicker, more comfortable, sturdier, and yeah. So that's what I did, and after I was done single crocheting on both of the straps, then I was completely done with the project. So from here, I would normally cut the yarn from the yarn ball and complete the project. However, and I know this is going to upset some of you, I am going to unravel this project so I can salvage the yarn and use it for my next crochet tutorial. I know a lot of people in the comments tell me that they get upset or sad because I work so hard on a project and usually spend like hours on it just to unravel it in the end. But that's what you have to do when you make crochet tutorials all the time. Speaking of that, if you enjoy free crochet tutorials like this one, please check out my channel. I have an array of crochet tutorials ranging from crochet bags to crochet tops, crochet scarves, sweaters, cup cozies, and more. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you have lots of fun with your new French Market bag, which is again super stretchy. See? Very surprising. But again, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and also share it on your social media sites because that would really help me out and I would appreciate it so much. Thank you very much for all of your support and for watching this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and also click that red subscribe button if you have not already so I can see you next time. Bye!